Summer's in, it's round the bend, just flying. The swimming suits are on the line, just drying. I'll meet you there per our conversation. I hope I didn't ruin your whole vacation. Well, you never know how far from home you're feeling until you watch the shadows cross the ceiling. I don't know, but I can see it snowing in your car. The windows are wide open. Come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. Valentines break hearts and minds at random. Easter egg ain't got a leg to stand on. Well, I can see that you can't win for trying. New Year's Eve is bound to leave you crying. Come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. Moon and stars hang out in bars, just talking. I still love that picture of us walking, just like that old house we thought was haunted. Summer's end came faster than we wanted. Come on home. Come on home. You don't have to be alone. Won't you come on home? Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Come on home. Won't you come on home? Come on home. Oh, you don't have to be alone. Come on home. Oh, don't be alone. Just come on home.
Oh, good to have them back. Listen now for these ancient words. From Galatians, in the 6th chapter, we read, Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family. And from Psalm 98, sing to God a new song, for God has done marvelous things. The right hand and the holy arm have worked salvation. God has made salvation known and revealed righteousness to the nations. God has remembered his love and faithfulness to Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Shout for joy to God, all the earth. Burst into jubilant song with music. Make music to the Holy One with the harp and the sound of singing. And finally, from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I am convinced that it is essential that we cultivate a sense of what I call universal responsibility or universal consciousness. An important benefit of developing such a sense of universal responsibility is that it helps us become sensitive to all others, not just those closest to us. We come to see the need to care, especially for those members of the human family who suffer most. We recognize the need to avoid causing divisiveness among our fellow human beings. And we become aware of the overwhelming importance of contentment. Friends, this is ancient word, holy word, and wisdom, you know. Small and wise and holy. I know your part better. Oh, here we go. Let's try that again. This is ancient wisdom and holy word.
Thanks be to all that is wise and holy.
All creation is wisdom and holy word.
All creation sings of wisdom and power.
Hallelujah. A big welcome to Jackie.
Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me better now? Fabulous. So we're going to start by singing together. If you know it, sing along. Ready? See if I can sing. All shall be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. All shall be well. Many of us know this verse by our beloved Julian of Norwich, who, as you may know, history suspects, lost all of her children and all of her family to plague. She cloistered and isolated herself in a room for the rest of her life, and after having revelations of God, penned this verse and others like it over the next many decades. It brought her relief. But I wonder, does it bring you relief? Does all shall be well really feel true? Or is it just another platitude we use to bypass our fear and pain? Better? Okay. I mean, really, there's so much to worry about these days, right? There's so much to worry about. There's aches in the back. There's anxiety over inflation. There's safety for the ones we love. There's the slipping away of youth and the 10 extra pounds and the irritating thing the partner does, or the not having of the partner, or the influence I'm supposed to have in the world, but I don't, and on and on and on and on. And that's just the personal stuff, right? So bring in the global, and it's overwhelming. We have climate chaos, war, guns in schools, artificial intelligence. The new one, the transgression of the freshwater boundary. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one yet. There's plastics in the oceans, loss of species, corporate greed, and the commodification of life, and it's just kind of overwhelming. And I know you're thinking to yourself, Jackie, this is the via positiva. But the negativa must be acknowledged for us to break through into the river of relief, which is our theme today. So Sharon Salzberg, she brought Buddhist insight meditation to the West over 50 years ago, and she has this book series called, with the title Real in it. Real happiness, real change. The next one's going to be real love. And she says that this name came to her because she realized her practice each morning was to get up, sit down, and get real. That she had to acknowledge the fear, anger, hopelessness, and resentment before she could find a place of peace, ease, and compassion. The place of stillness where it really feels like all shall be well. It's not a place of denial or repression or bypassing. It's a place of abiding relief. And really, isn't that what we're all looking for? Relief from the tension, the pain, the suffering, the crazy confusion and chaos of the world. To know that we and the things we loved are and will be okay. But often we don't know how to get that relief. If we're lucky, we might find it through our striving, or by sitting in nature, or by connecting to music. But most of us, we have short-term solutions. Maybe it's a drink, or drugs, or a new anything, job, toy, partner, house, whatever the social media ads are selling us. Maybe it's sex, or porn, or food, or gambling, or maybe we just chase anything that will give us that temporary high. And there's no shame in this. Like, we're all just doing the best we can with the circumstances we've been given. But this obsession with short-term relief, it's a little bit like Nero fiddling while Rome burns. What we really need are long-term solutions. So we turn to the wise ones, right? The mystics, the prophets, the saints, the seers, the sages, and they tell us that real relief comes from one place. It comes from connecting to something bigger than ourselves, from taking refuge in the holy. Kabir, if you don't know who he is, see if I can do this. He is a 15th century Persian mystic, and he stood up for the poor and animals, and he railed against religion. And he writes of the holy, "Since the day when I first met my beloved, there has been no end to the joy of our love. Whatever I see, it reveals the beloved. Whatever I do becomes worship of the beloved. Rising and setting are both one to me. All contradictions have vanished. Wherever I go, I move round the beloved. Everything I do is service to the beloved. My tongue has abandoned all impure words and sings my beloved's splendor day and night. I cannot forget my beloved because the pulse of the music is always throbbing in my ears." Kabir says, "My heart is ablaze. I unveil what is hidden in my soul. I am drowned in the one great bliss that transcends all joy and pain." So can you imagine the relief that comes from that kind of love? One that really lets you accept it all? The fame and shame, joy and pain, fortune and blame, all of it with bliss? So there's another mystic that we all love, that radical rabbi who worked to subvert an entire culture and who has been lighting up the world for over 2,000 years, despite the distortions of his followers, the ones we call Yeshua, or Jesus. He gave 2 instructions that would take us to the river of relief. He said, "Love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and treat thy neighbor as thyself." That was it. So for clarification, he never would have uttered the word Lord. You don't know, it's a 17th century feudal word that refers to landlord. There's another translation of the word. I mean, there's probably pages of translation of the word, but one of them is this experience. To love this experience with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. To love this experience, this one right here, which is the manifestation of the oneness of all that is, with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Which means getting real about what's here. And it's hard to be here because it kind of hurts. But those wise ones, they tell us that by getting here in the depth of the moment, we can find the river of relief. And it's sort of like stinging nettles, which is a weird analogy, but I'm an herbalist. And if you don't know, the antidote for the sting in a stinging nettle plant is the juice in the leaf. It's the depth that matters. So even if we're manage to be here in the depth of this moment, how do we actually learn how to love it with all this dysfunction? How do we keep our hearts open in hell? So we turn back to the wise ones, and they tell us that love is not a feeling, and it's not a sentimentality, it's a practice. It's one of strength and virtue, and it is consciously cultivated. So we love this moment by paying attention and offering our adoration. We drag ourselves out of bed, we acknowledge our misery, and then we turn to a bigger world and we practice adoring it as it is. We spout words of unbridled poetry to the wind, and we chant the names of God to our pain. Another one of our beloved mystics, Mary Oliver, she writes, "My work is loving the world. Here, the sunflower, there, the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here, the quickening yeast, and there, the blue plums. Here, the clam deep in the speckled sand. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer younger and still not half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture, and the pasture, which is mostly rejoicing since all ingredients are here, which is gratitude. To be given a mind and a heart and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren and the sleepy dug-up clam, telling them over and over and over how it is that we live forever."
Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing gonna be alright. Sing, don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true, saying, "This is my message to you."
So even if we manage to love the world, we often don't find the river of relief because we ourselves don't feel worthy. But imagine the relief you might feel to be loved exactly as you are right now, the fragile, vulnerable, neurotic pieces included. This great mixture of goodness and beauty, cruelty, heartbreak, indifference, love, fear, desire, hatred, depression, joy, elation, goodness, and evil, all of it completely loved, absolutely unconditionally. You don't have to be good. Here's the truth, we're not. You don't have to give anything in return. You don't have to walk on your knees for 1,000 miles. You are simply loved because you are a child of God. And that is what has happened to another beloved mystic of mine, and probably many of yours, Ram Dass. He sat in front of his teacher, Neem Karoli Baba, who could read his mind. He knew every crevice and crack of the facade. And instead of being met with hesitation or disgust or judgment, things we fear, he was met by an overwhelming sense of acceptance and allowance, of unconditional love. And it dunked him into a deep river of soul relief, which changed the trajectory of his life, and as a result has offered relief to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the globe ever since. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole world.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Ooh, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing's gonna be alright.
So maybe we have found the relief of being in presence, and maybe we have found the relief of self-love, but here's the next question. Can we find relief through each other? Can we find relief in community? And that's what our Bible stories are talking about today, which is Yeshua's second edict, love thy neighbor. There it is. So one of the first times I ever experienced the love of community was here in Jubilee, and it was almost 2 decades ago. I was recently divorced, I was totally broke, and I was alone pet sitting over Christmas. So I decided that I would come to this funky little tantric-like church that I had heard about, and I sat down in a chair right over there, and I just began to sob, quietly sob, and I could not stop for the whole celebration. I was just lost, and I felt scared, and I felt alone. And some stranger who's sitting in the next chair, she put her hand on my shoulder, and she kept it there for almost the whole celebration. She was this lovely woman, large-bodied, motherly chest. And afterwards, she hugged me for what felt like an eternity, which is why I remember the size of her body and chest, because it felt like this incredible relief. It was such comfort. And it was just this really small, simple act of kindness. And I bet every single one of you here has a story like that. I don't know if you read the recent New York Times article, but they reported on studies showing that impact of random acts of kindness. Research has found that people who perform random acts of kindness tend to underestimate how much the recipient really appreciates it. And they believe that this miscalculation holds us back from doing nice things for one another. They found that the smallest things, like a kind message written on by a server onto a customer's Starbucks coffee cup, can literally save lives. So Meister Eckhart writes, all day long, a little burro labors, sometimes with heavy loads on her back and sometimes just with worries about things that bother only burros. And worries, as we know, can be more exhausting than physical labor. Once in a while, a kind monk comes to her stable and brings a pear. But more than that, he looks into the burro's eyes and touches her ears. And for a few seconds, the burro is free and even seems to laugh, because love does that. Love frees. I think most of us want to default to this position of generosity. It's just that our hearts are guarded most of the time, our fear great, our self-absorption overwhelming. But we are all, every single one of us, are hungry for something. And every single one of us, we have something to give. And we find relief only when we have the courage to open to those things. Sort of like how a flower only is able to open to the sun. That a flower opening to the sun is the only way for bees to get fed, which is ultimately how a flower has sex. So what's the difference between heaven and hell?
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing's gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing's gonna be alright.
So the parable of the spoon, these Bible stories, they're all telling us something important. They're telling us that we are all interconnected. I know it feels like we're separate humans, and as separate, independent entities, we must figure out how to survive and thrive. But what if we're wrong? What if we are so much more than we think ourselves to be? Those same wise ones, they tell us we're not actually the individual wave or the ocean. We're not the thread in the tapestry of life. We're the tapestry itself. And maybe if we start identifying this way, start focusing on the we more than the me, we'll start naturally helping each other out. Sort of like the right hand pulling the left out of the fire. When Ram Dass asked his teacher, how do I get enlightened? He answered, serve people. When he asked, how do I raise my kundalini? He answered, feed people. It might just be that you are actually one of the 10,000 arms of the goddess of compassion. And she comes through us in many ways. She comes to the hungry in the form of food, the fearful in the form of safety, the lonely in the form of companionship. And maybe today, she will come to and through you as a handwritten message on a coffee cup, or a pear, or a sunflower, or a stranger holding you to their chest, or maybe a bird song or a love poem to God, or a meal brought to a stranger, or a home given to a refugee, or a donation to a worthy cause, or votes for those who want to bring systemic changes. Or maybe it will be the simple decision to, just for today, consume and waste a whole lot less of this precious earth and her incredible gifts, even if it means a little short-term discomfort to go against the flow of the current systems. We crave relief from pain and tension, and maybe we will only find it when we are able to get real, recognize this incredible interconnectedness of all things, and then practice acting as if we are the fabric of love itself. After all, if this is the age of enlightenment, my one and only duty is to be present, keep an open heart, and lend a helping hand. And if it's Armageddon, my one duty is to be present, keep an open heart, and lend a helping hand. And maybe if we all do this, we really could create heaven on earth. And what a relief that might be.
Don't worry gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing. 'Cause everything gonna be alright. Yeah, 'cause everything gonna be alright. Yeah, everything gonna be alright.
Oh, what a relief that would be. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for all those wise words from your heart and from so many great teachers. Now is the time when we are going to pass around the plates, and we are going to open our hearts and our pockets and our wallets and offer gifts to help the financial well-being of this institution that we love as we keep going. And we're going to enjoy some music from our band. So let's just open our hearts in a sense of offering. You might, before you, oh yeah, I'm being reminded there's a matching. So if the gift you are giving is for them to be matched in the matching thingy that was talked about earlier, please put it in here. Thanks. So let's just take a moment and hold whatever it is you're offering to the world. It may be the money you're going to put in the plate. It may be some kindness you're going to share this week. Just hold it to your heart and then give it away. what if our main job is to pay attention and be astonished? What a relief that would be. So go out into your world this week, practicing kindness, lending a hand, offering up the astonishment of the good news of being alive in this experience. Let's stand and sing and bless each other with our song as we go out into our week.
Thank you.